Hi, CT9904 here, talking about the best controller for Mario Kart Wii. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to give you some cons and pros of each controller, as I have almost used all four controllers. You may notice that I don't actually talk about the GCN controller. It's because that's the only one I haven't used out of the four controllers, and from what I've heard, it's like a bad version of a classic slash pro controller. But there are quite a few people who use it, so I'm not sure about that one. I reckon use it if you have it. I wouldn't personally suggest using it though, as I personally prefer the classic over that remote. Also, all of this is from my own experience and yours may be different, please keep that in mind. Enough chit chat, let's begin. Why not use the Wii remote? A few good reasons. First, it's hard to implement tricks, as there are 2 to 3 less buttons on the Wii wheel and no analog slash joysticks. This means that doing certain tricks is much harder due to the lack of button impact and much more focus on the motion sensor. For instance, chain drifts I find impossible, and staying perfectly straight is much harder than with a analog stick, as the default position for an analog stick is perfectly straight, whereas the motion sensor you have to be certainly in a degree of straightness, whereas, analog stick perfectly dead on straight if you don't touch it. It's a good choice for players who don't want to improve and play for fun, but let's be real, if you are watching this video you probably want to improve. The Wii Wheel doesn't have much going for it, and I wouldn't recommend anyone use this remote whether you're looking to improve or even just looking to have fun, because, you'll have much more fun winning races and, playing a different remote will help you win races. Classic controller. I believe the only difference between the Classic and the Pro is that the Pro has handles and the buttons are ever so slightly different feeling, especially at the back of the remote. However, I haven't used the Pro, so I can't say if it's any better, but I doubt it would make the world of difference. Because of the D-pad being wheelie slash shake, when a POW comes up, you can spam that to dodge the POW very easily. Unless you're in a tricky spot like turning a corner, because when you're turning a corner, your thumb is on the joystick, so you can't properly turn. This is where clawing comes in. If you don't know what clawing is, then very quickly, is where you hold your hand in this position so you can use both your D-pad and steer at the same time. I find that after a few races, it starts really hurting my hand, and you definitely have to build up a resistance to the pain of clawing. Now, also a big issue for the Nunchuck and Controller Classic and any analog stick is the throwing back mechanism. Because the Wii Wheel uses the sensor, you can just click the back D-pad to throw backwards. But with the analog stick controls, you have to move the stick back, and therefore compromise moving or turning your character with the analog stick. And this can sometimes put you in slightly difficult positions. However, I would still say that the analog stick is better over the motion sensor, due to the more accurate steering that you can achieve. The Nunchuck came with most Wiis, so it's very likely you have this rather than spending $650 on eBay for the Controller Classic. Also, another thing that's really good about the Nunchuck is that apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently it has 3 more frames to implement tricks like chain wheeling and chain drifts, rather than the classic controller or any other remote, due to it having a motion sensor impact on the Wii remote with the Nunchuck. Now, I personally believe that this is a fact and isn't a myth, due to the fact that I can hit chain drifts 90% more of the time on a Nunchuck compared to the classic controller. So I think it's true. Obviously, I'm not too sure if it is a myth or not, but I believe it's a fact. Also, because it's motion control, you can shake and wheelie to avoid POWs, meaning you can turn while avoiding a POW, unlike the classic, like I talked about earlier. Finally, we can look at this from a more factual stand. We can take a look at what controllers for players from top world records times have and use. So this is a list of what controller worlds of the top time on the track has. So you can clearly see that the Nunchuck has the most. I'm unsure why the Wii Wheel even has 1 on the Cooper Cape track, but we're not going to question that, and that might actually just be a false piece of information from the site that I was on. With that said, I think you all know what one I prefer and would say is better to use if you really want to improve. The Nunchuck is best, personally, obviously this is a personal choice, but at the end of the day there are clearly some benefits, so basically even if you clang, Even if you can claw with a classic, I would say that the 3 frames more on the nunchuck, if this is true, it makes the nunchuck superior. If you don't know what a chain drift is, then go and check it out on my channel. The link is somewhere, probably below. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, then make sure to like and please comment anything I may have missed. I would personally really appreciate it because there is probably a lot that I did actually miss out. Anyway, thank you for watching and I shall see you all in the next video.